I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At the top of Wednesday's Senate Small Business Committee hearing, Ranking Member Rand Paul laced into SBA Administrator Isabella Guzman in his opening statement. He accused Guzman of not being transparent on PPP loans, specifically calling out the loans given to Planned Parenthood. The Kentucky senator has long complained about loans given to entities he says were ineligible for government loans. He also claimed that Guzman has, quote, obstructed efforts to get documents related to the loans. Let's listen in.
We just got back from the memorial service funeral for Secretary Albright, which was a fitting tribute to her incredible service to our country. So several members of our committee were at the funeral and memorial service. So literally the buses just got back to the Hill. So my apologies. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, Administrator Guzman. We are now more than 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic and 1 year into the Biden administration. So this hearing is an opportunity for our committee to receive an update on the Small Business Administration's implementation of COVID-19 relief programs and learn how the administration's fiscal year 2023 budget requests will fund long-term initiatives to support our nation's small businesses, especially those in underserved communities. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Congress has created several new programs to support small businesses, including the Paycheck Protection Program, the Idle Advance Grant Program, Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and several others. We've also appropriated more than $1 trillion to the SBA to fund these initiatives. Congress gave the SBA an immense task, and I remain grateful for the thousands of SBA employees who worked around the clock to disperse this aid. They did an incredible service to our country, and I offer my sincere thanks. Several independent studies have confirmed that the SBA's implementation of these programs was largely successful and improved over time, especially in terms of equity. The improvements is the result of the thoughtful policies implemented by Congress, as well as the efforts of the Biden administration to invest in underserved entrepreneurs. Today, after enduring the deepest economic contraction in several generations, our economy is growing. At the fastest rate since 1984, we are back, but the SBA's importance has not diminished. If anything, the SBA has an even more important role to play in the months and years ahead. In the short term, there are still many hard-hit industries that need support. Earlier this month, I introduced bipartisan legislation with Senator Roger Wicker to provide additional relief to the more than 177,000 Restaurant Revitalization Fund applicants who remain unfunded, as well as other struggling industries. Let me just remind our committee, these restaurants were owners of small businesses were in line, they were qualified, they did everything right. There was just not the resources available in order to fund them. And as a matter of equity and need, we need to act on that bill. In the long term, SBA must be equipped to meet the needs of the historic number of Americans engaging in entrepreneurship. According to the Census Bureau, Americans registered a record 5.4 million new businesses in 2021, which exceeded the prior record of 4.4 million new businesses registrations in 2020. Remarkably, the surge is being driven by entrepreneurs in some of our most underserved communities, with minorities, especially minority women, driving the surge. President Biden has made supporting minorities, women, and entrepreneurs in rural communities one of his administration's highest priorities. It is to unleash the full potential of our nation, our economic opportunity and economic growth, creating not only good jobs, but initiatives and innovation that drives our economy. The experience of the pandemic has demonstrated that the historic barriers that underserved entrepreneurs face are not insurmountable. Administrator Guzman, I'm very pleased that the administration's budget request doubles down on lessons learned during the pandemic. In particular, I believe the administration's request to increase funding for the SBA entrepreneurial development programs would help create the strong entrepreneurial ecosystems that new small business owners need to succeed. Last week, the administrator and I participated in a roundtable discussion with minority small business owners in Baltimore about the Community Navigator pilot program. It is clear from that discussion that the SBA has an opportunity to leverage the inroads it has made into underserved communities during the pandemic to unleash their untapped growth potential. I am also pleased that the budget request proposes an increase in lending authority for the 7A and 504 loan programs. The additional lending authority will further bridge the historic gaps that exist in private capital markets to ensure that entrepreneurs in all communities have the capital they need to start and grow successful businesses. Taking advantage of the current boom in entrepreneurship will also require action from Congress. First, creating a direct lending program that the SBA would allow for another avenue for access to capital, filling the current gaps in our financial ecosystem. A reimagined direct lending program would allow entrepreneurs to apply directly to the SBA or through community lenders for a federal loan. As we know, many underserved entrepreneurs are discouraged from applying for a loan because of the high rates of rejection. Second, we must codify the Community Advantage Loan Program. The loan program is particularly successful at getting capital to underserved entrepreneurs. I was proud to join the administrator, and Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary Gina Raimondo at Howard University at the beginning of this month when we announced that the administration will extend the Community Advantage for 2 additional years and implement changes such as increasing the maximum loan size and expanding the number of lenders that participate in Community Advantage to make the program more helpful to more small businesses. And finally, Congress must give the SBA the tools and resources to nurture the next generation of entrepreneurs by creating a network of incubators and accelerators on the campuses of our nation's historically black colleges and universities, minority-serving institutions, and community colleges. Administrator Guzman, I want to close my remarks by thanking you once again for joining us today. You have now been in your role for more than a year, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you have done to improve these programs, as well as the insight you have gained in this time in order to help accomplish those goals.